I think I like pitas more than tacos is the thing. So, like...
They're two different flavors.
I know, right? But they're like the same basic philosophy of let's wrap things in like a thin bread.
Yeah, but that's comparing like cake and pie. They're just two different things.
But see, therein lies the problem, because like if you're gonna offer me a pie, I'm gonna be like, but I kind of want a cake rather. Like if I could have either or.
Yeah, but if someone's like, hey, you want to go for some pie? You're gonna be like, no, I only want cake.
No, I guess in that scenario I would accept the pie. Hello, and welcome to Better Know a VTuber, where we interview VTubers and get to better know them. And today we have Argama Witch. Say hello, Argama Witch.
Hello, Argama Witch.
Yay! And I had a question I wanted to start off with, because this is something that... It was a question that I never even thought to ask when I first found out about you, and I only found out like a couple months ago or so. And that is, how did you get the name Argama?
It's an amalgamation of art, gaming, and manga. So Argama.
Yeah. I always just assumed it was a name. It never occurred to me that it was also like the genre of things that you do.
Yes, I came to find out that it's also the name of a Gundam space ship or something. I don't know.
Oh, cool.
So there is an Argama ship, and if I ever find a model of it, I'm gonna buy it just because.
Like display it on your channel or something?
It just put it on my shelf, be like, Argama.
Yes. Well, I mean, in Canada, like, they give you, like, I don't know, 9 years of, like, French classes that you have to take. From, like, through elementary school and the first year of high school. But I never really learned much during that time, aside from Je suis un ananas, because my god, that cartoon pineapple haunts my dreams to this day. And when it tells you, I am a pineapple, you remember that it is a pineapple.
I mean, in all fairness, the only thing I remember from all of my French classes is the alphabet song.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The alphabet song? What's the alphabet song?
It's the alphabet song. It's A, B, C, D, E, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Voici la petite chanson qui nous aide à dire les sons.
See, I just, at this very moment, learned that the letters of the alphabet have different names in French. Which makes complete sense, but it's new information to me nonetheless.
You didn't learn the alphabet song when you were in school?
I mean, they might have tried to teach me it. But because there was no cartoon pineapple, like, looking into my soul and demanding that I remember it, I didn't retain that information. I was wondering what appealed to you to start doing Let's Plays in the first place.
Mildly sad story. I was, kind of being harassed at work. And my workplace is not a good place. Was not a good place to work. So there's a lot of harassment, bullying, and sexual harassment because they didn't like. They didn't like anyone who really like spoke out against anything that they did, and they definitely did not like females who did that. So I definitely got the brunt end of that. My manager also hated me because I did not smile every time he walked in the room. And so I fell into a really bad depression. And then I got extremely sick with the flu. And I was like, you know what? I'm hopped up on medication. I'm just going to give this Let's Play thing a try. And I did, and I had fun. Right. And it just made me feel good about myself. So I kept doing it. That's how I started Let's Plays.
Yeah. That's good. Not the harassment part. That's bad. The good part was that you felt like you were getting something out of Let's Plays. And then, as you said, about 4 months into it, you started wanting to VTube, or decided to do VTubing. How did you find out about VTubing? First off, that was even an option.
I didn't.
Oh.
So I was trying to figure out how to make my channel grow, because in 4 months I had maybe 100 followers. and I wanted to, like, share with more people. And I was told that it would work better if I had a webcam, but I didn't want to use a webcam because I didn't want to have to doll myself up every time I played a video game.
Right.
So I wanted to put, like, an avatar on screen. And then I remembered seeing someone on Facebook post, I think it was a Kitsune Eye, it was the Backstreet Boy video. And I was like, I wonder if I could do that for Let's Plays. And then that's how I found out that there were things such as VTubers, and then I looked into making the live 2D model.
Did you draw your 2D model yourself?
Yes.
And did you rig it yourself too?
Yes. That was all by me.
How long did it take to learn that? Or was that a difficult process?
It wasn't a difficult process. There's plenty of videos on YouTube that help. I think it took me a couple weeks to a month to kind of get the first one down. And then I redid it and was much better the second time.
I take it once you started VTubing, you were aware of Kitsune Eye. Were you aware of other VTubers as well?
No.
When did you start learning about other VTubers?
So I was posting my videos around, and I noticed that, like, Virtual YouTubers was a site on Reddit, and so, or on subreddit, and so I threw my video up there being like, ta-da! Look, I'm trying this thing that very few people really have done at this point. And Skyoshi reached out to me, and she's like, hey, did you know there is a Discord? And there are others that also do this, and then I was introduced into Deet's Discord.
How many were around at that time that you knew of, like English-speaking VTubers?
Like 4? I knew of Kami and Mira, Deet and Skyoshi, and I think that was pretty much it. I started at the end of June, and then by July we had Moe that came out, and I think Seiko. I think there was a few others. It was like the second wave. Like, they were the first wave, and I was part of that second wave.
So well before doing Let's Plays and all that, you were also doing a lot of art. Like, you've been doing art conventions and stuff for a while. Obviously, you've been drawing longer than that. I was wondering, when you were originally starting, did you have aspirations of kind of melding those two interests together in some way?
No. So, like, my channel used to be for speed arts, but they were not very popular. And the name Argama was created before the character, and it was to be my new art business name, because I needed to reapply for my business license as an artist, and my old name was Sho with SYO, but people couldn't pronounce it, so I changed it to Argama, because I figured that kind of was more me and what I was doing in my life, and yeah. It sort of worked into that, but VTubing was never meant to really, like, intersect too much with my art stuff, but I guess it has now.
Well, I think one of the ways it's most intersected with it, aside from obviously you drawing a lot of VTubers, you also do a fair number of art streams. And I was kind of wondering, like, when you originally got started, you weren't doing streams. What kind of led you to streaming, and what kind of influenced you to make that kind of, like, your primary focus being streaming?
I think it had to do with the fact that I didn't have to edit while I was streaming. And as much as I love editing, it does very time-consuming. And you're able to see, like, instant gratification of how well you're doing by, like, who's interacting with you. And I also like that as well, that I could quickly interact with people and I didn't have to wait for people to comment on stuff to talk to them. Whereas when you do it on YouTube, it's just, you know, you put it out there and then you hope somebody sees it, so.
Yes, very much so. Nowadays, when it comes to videos, rather than, like, you putting Let's Plays up, they're usually, like, your 3 a.m. ideas. Like, for example, what is it called? The Battle for Ultimate Freedom? Or what's it called?
The dumb 3 a.m. idea.
Yeah, well, but it's the one where Mr.
The
Rogers
Ultimate Showdown.
Oh, yeah, I won that!
You did win that!
Yeah,
We're like, who is
really
the wholesome Mr. Rogers? And it had to have been pending.
Thank you. I love those ideas. I love your 3 a.m. ideas.
They're so shitposty, but they're fun to make. It's just really hard to get so many people to collab, and I have others in the wing, which I'm still waiting on people to submit their videos to. There are other things I wanted to put up there. Like, I did want to do the manga reviewing up there. I just could never figure out how I wanted to make reviews. And I do have some instructional videos, and I do have a video series planned where I talk about working in conventions. Because a lot of people ask me how I do that and how they can do that as well.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting. I know a little bit about that because my sister's done a bit of it, but I would think that a lot of people, obviously have gone to conventions, but have never been on the other end of that. So kind of seeing exactly what it takes to put together a table and get a table in the first place, and the amount of work that goes into it too, I think would be very interesting to people. I
think most people just want to know where they get their stuff printed, and they don't think about all of the nuances that you need to think of, like how do you get all your stuff to a convention, and how do you pay taxes?
Yeah, the logistical stuff, I don't think people tend to think of, but I also feel like, or I don't know, I feel like to an extent people might not appreciate the sheer number of work hours that go into like setting up for one of those conventions.
Yeah, I had a friend who was really, she's like, I don't understand why people who work cons like full-time or even like part-time like I was are always so stressed out. They seem such fun, and I've vended at one and they were fun. And I asked her, I go, did you have to sign up for it, or did you just show up with your stuff? She's like, I showed up with my stuff. And I'm like, so you didn't have to prep for it. The prep work of conventions is so stressful that a lot of us who do it for a living always think about quitting it. Just, it's so much work, and it's long hours. It's not like a 9-to-5 40-hour week. It is you're spending 10 to 12 hours a day up until the point of the convention. Even if you work all year round doing supplies, there's always going to be last minute things you've got to work on and get prepared, and it's such a pain, especially if you do one every week and you have to continuously restock your supply. It becomes super stressful.
Yeah, and I imagine in addition to that, the conventions themselves can be fairly stressful, both because you have to be relatively warm and personable the entire time, and maintaining that kind of level of emotion can be draining, but also because, like, this is your job, your income depends on you having a good convention, so there's probably a certain amount of stress there and fear that things might not go as well as you would hope.
As far as having that upbeat emotion, I find working the cons themselves are the easiest part of the whole thing. Because at that point, you just sit back and relax. I've been half dead at a table before, just like drinking coffee, hiding behind my display, and people would come up and be like, I want to buy this. I'm just like, and then they would go do their merry little thing. But yeah, there is a point where you have to be slightly personable. But I had like tips that I ended up teaching my husband, and so now he does really well at selling too, and it doesn't really require to be overly engaging or overly like smiles all the time, because sometimes that's hard to do, especially when you're tired and you're working a 14-hour day.
Going back to the manga reviews, is that still something that you plan on doing at some point? Should you kind of find the format that you like for them?
I want to say yes, but in all honesty, I feel like I just don't have time right now. I keep myself so busy doing other things and working on projects and conventions and stuff. But I have so many manga, and I wanted it as an excuse to reread my collection and then share my thoughts with people.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do it because no one else really does manga reviews. They do anime reviews, they'll do movie reviews. But you don't really get anyone who talks about, like, the manga side of it that much.
Yeah, I wonder why that is, actually. Because I think there would certainly be interest in Manga Reviews.
There are people who do chapter by chapter, but when you're doing, say you're doing like a series like One Piece, it's got so many volumes to it, and dissecting one volume could be the equivalent of like one anime episode, so it's a lot easier to do like one episode than 200 pages of a manga, especially if you're going to get into like details, like crazy details, and that is my problem, is that sometimes I want to go into crazy dumb details.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so the prep work in scripting it and then filming it and editing it, that would be a rather sizable venture.
I did start writing out one, and then like on the third page in, I realized I was only talking about the history of the author, and I hadn't even gotten into talking about the manga itself. I was just like, oh yeah, this author, they went through this, they did this, they moved from this publisher to this publisher, and like none of this I had to like look up because I just know it from all of my like years of like being into the manga scene. But I thought it was interesting, like it's personally interesting to me, but other people might not find it interesting because they're not interested in the artist's perspective, but more of just the comic itself.
I think that it is interesting stuff. It definitely sounds like, based on the fact that you were already three pages of scripting in, and you hadn't you hadn't gone into the actual manga proper yet. It definitely seemed like it was going to be a long form 30-plus minute review had you done it, which those kind of things can take a very, very long time to make. So given how much other stuff you have that you're juggling, I can certainly understand why you'd be hesitant to go that direction. But I do think like that kind of stuff is interesting.
I mean, yes, not to mention that was only like one series out of the 800 or so that I own.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, given that you have so much manga, and given that you're like a very big manga fan, I was just kind of wondering, what would you consider to be your favorite series?
Mushishi.
What is Mushishi?
It is a story that follows a guy who deals with slightly supernatural issues. Mushishi has always been my favorite series, whether it be the anime or the manga. So whenever people ask me, that's just my like go-to answer. But so it talks about like these little things that most people can't see, that they aren't like malicious, but they affect people and humans.
Right.
And most of the Mushishi, which are Mushi Masters, Bug Masters, which is just the name they use for these things, will go around and try to kill them, whereas the main character tries to find a happy resolve to them without destroying them, so everyone can live in harmony, I guess.
Oh, that sounds nice.
And the art style's very, like, ink brush type style. And I really appreciate it and like it.
Is it the art style that appeals to you the most about it, or is it more the story?
I think it's more of the story. Like, it's a nice art style. It's a very unique and original art style. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it is. I like when they try different things. I really appreciate new styles and something that's not the same cookie cutter looking. What is that style? It's like a moe style, where they have like the really thin lines, the big eyes, and lolly bodies, and and it's not isekai, so yay.
How old is that series?
How old is it? It's like, I think in 2008 the final volume came out. So and it took 3 years for the final volume to come out. It's an old series. It was fairly old series. It was probably about 20 or more years old at this point.
Right. Is it, so it's a series that holds some nostalgic value to you as well at this point?
Oh, yes. I have a strange obsession with it. I've even collected the original Japanese version just so I have it.
Oh, nice.
because I'm weird and have to collect other languages of my favorite series.
That sounds nice. You have some other things that you collect too, don't you? Or
yes.
I'm trying to...
I'm a hoarder.
Oh, okay.
I collect like skull motifs and skeleton keys, hats,
cool.
scarves. Just water bottles in my office.
Well, that's not so much a collection, but that does tend to happen. I think I first found out about you, and I might have known about you before this, but do you remember when you were doing the VTuber cards?
Yes.
I think that was my introduction to you, because I saw you start doing them, and I was relatively new to VTubing at that time, and some other people... If I remember correctly, you had asked, who should I do VTuber cards for? And some other people had suggested that you do pending. I'm like, I really love these cards. I'm really looking forward to the day when she does pending. So I'm like, I keep checking in. It's like, maybe today's the day that she did a pending. And I was really impressed by how quickly you were churning out those cards, because they're so detailed, and yeah, it just impressed me how quickly you could do them. And I was kind of wondering what inspired you to make those cards in the first place, if you can remember.
I don't know that I remember exactly. I do know that I wanted to do some fan art of some VTubers, and they weren't cards at the time, but somebody had said they looked like trading cards. But I was trying out a new style, and I was throwing a lot of brushes and filters on it. So as detailed as they are, they really didn't take that much time. It was drag, drop, and overlay. And that was pretty much magic. That's where my magic is.
Yeah.
But then I started asking, who else should get some? Because it helped me introduce to new VTubers. And, I was still fairly new in the community, and I didn't know that many people.
Right.
So... even when I do fan art nowadays, I still like to ask who should get some, who is a VTuber that I might have missed, because there's so many VTubers now that it's really hard to remember them all. And when I was starting out, I had trouble telling who was a VTuber versus who was just a fan of VTuber, because a lot of them ended up turning into VTubers. Like Mel turned into a VTuber, and Dippy turned into a VTuber, or Gardo turned into a VTuber. And all these people I met over in Deet server. But when I first started out, they weren't VTubers. They were just fans of VTubers preparing for their debut. So asking for VTubers who were new or whatever, I could kind of make fan art and learn about them, and other people could learn about them, and yeah, it was just fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Deet server is when I actually met you proper, because I already knew about you at that time, but I don't think I had ever spoken to you until I started hanging out in Deet's voice chat.
And that's when it all went downhill.
Yeah, that's when I ran into the wrong crowd. You led me to a life of Hydra killing.
Oh God, Hydra.
Yeah.
I like the fact that our D&D game has made it into the VTuber community.
Yeah. It's
People
fun.
might not get the reference, but A
lot of times while we're playing D&D, I'll be messaging other people, telling them what's happening in the game. Yesterday, when I kicked down a door and stubbed my toe, so I tried kicking down the door with my other foot and stubbed my toe again. Because I rolled a 0 twice.
Just walking around 2 stuffed toes.
Yeah.
I've actually wanted to do animatics telling the story of my D&D group from when we started to probably where we are now with Tarakai and Hadley. Maybe actually when that arc ends. It'd be good. We can do it in sections.
Yeah.
And I'd love to talk about the fact that our monk got pulled away into the sky by his god, by his hair.
Yeah, I remember that. You've also been making a lot of models lately. when did you start making models?
I was working on them last year, and I was like low-key taking commissions for them, but I didn't want to advertise for it. I was afraid I might step on toes. But then when medical bills came up, I was like, maybe I'll be a bit more active and asking for like, hey, this is what I can do. Do you want to commission me?
Well, how did you initially start doing the models? Like, what was it tweaking Argama that got you into it in the first place?
Well, I had actually built an original Argama a long time ago when the beta for VRoid Studios came out, because I was part of the beta sign up.
Right.
And it was trash. So, and then, like, I had, commissioned a model from somebody else, and then Katsumi gave me a model. And then I was, like, working on it a little bit, and I was like, yeah, this is neat, does a lot better. And when it finally came out, like, translated in English, I was like, oh, this is how all this works. Because I still had the original Japanese that didn't have English at all, and I was just...
kind of...
I just couldn't.
Yes.
And then I, like, made models for, like, my husband and a few other people. And I kept experimenting. I was able to do things that other people didn't really think about doing with VRoid. So, like, all the models I make are not edited outside of VRoid whatsoever. All the accessories and stuff are all made inside VRoid.
Right.
And I like the idea of experimenting. Like, people will send me stuff being like, hey, can you do my model? It's a pretty safe thing. It's just like a basic model with a basic outfit. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's easy. It's whatever. But then you get people who are like, I want a bag on my head. And I'm like, yes, a challenge. Although the bag on his head doesn't look good. I'm not happy with it at all. But it was a nice challenge. And it's as best as I can do with the limitations in the program. I think, actually, since things have changed, I have an idea that might... actually, I don't know if it'll work, but... I don't know. I might fiddle with it later on. I had wanted to try to make one for Mel, the skeleton, by painting a skeleton face on the model and blacking everything else out, and then making his helmet. And that didn't really turn out so well.
Right.
And then there was the Momiji one, which was really fun to do. The big bow was a nice challenge. Yes. And then the stuff with my hat, and then my ears.
Yeah, the elf ears.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you've churned out a lot of models, especially recently.
Yeah, well, some of them I've worked on a little into the end of last year, into the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Like, the Hoshiko model was, I think, the first one where I started advertising, and that finished in the beginning of this year. The Momiji was last year. Texturing is fairly quick for me because I do it in a separate program and then just import it in.
Right.
I pretty much almost finished Skiyoshi's model last night.
Oh, nice.
While we were in a voice chat together.
Cool.
Maple's was done in like 5 hours, 6 hours. So, like, I can turn them out pretty quick. Even Shad's, which a lot of people really like, I did in like 3-4 hours.
Yeah. Mine was, like, the model that people can see right now, which you made, was done, I think fairly quickly, too. I think the hardest part of this model was probably that I really wasn't sure what I wanted, so we ended up making tweaks along the way just because I was so indecisive.
Yeah, yours took 3 days, and 2.5 of those days were outfits and what you wanted to look like. Yes, because I wasn't sure. Here's the model. It's all done, but let's give you this outfit. No, this outfit's not good enough. Let's give you this outfit. Maybe this outfit.
Yeah.
And I did almost completely finish the first outfit before we decided to, like, yeet it out the window. And then when you got the model, you got to edit yourself, which is one of the great things about, like, getting your VRoid model. You can... Yes. Or the VRoid file is that you can adjust it to just how you want it. Because sometimes, like, I try to mimic the style as much as possible, but sometimes I don't get it 100% because I'm not perfect. but having your own thing, you can kind of adjust it. So, like, originally, I kind of gave you more of that slightly older looking pending, and you were like, let me just adjust it to how I like it wanted.
I made like the chin more round and the eyes bigger. And also you give me the Vroid file, you know, it gives a lot of flexibility. Because, like, first off, it's a lot easier to change outfits in the future when you have the Vroid file. Because the only alternative to that is Unity, which is a little bit more problematic. It's doable in Unity, but it's complicated. And it let me do things like with the recent skit where I took off Pending's cat ears. So I can kind of mix and match and stuff.
Yeah. It's great having, like, the option to change and adjust things. So I make sure, like, I always send, like, those files over. I'm like, here is this is the program that you need for it, and be sure to check out Booth because you can get a bunch of free outfits on there, and then you can just play dress up with your own character, and it's great.
And if I remember correctly, like, you have a Booth account, so you will have outfits up there.
I have a few.
Like the hoodie.
I like the hoodie. The free hoodie.
Yes, the free hoodie, which I've worn a bunch of times in whatchamacallits, in streams. Never with this model pending, but at some point this model pending is also going to wear the hoodie, I'm sure.
It was originally designed for Hoshiko's character. And Hoshiko's does have, like, a slightly different pattern on it. Like, it has a star on it with the shooting star thing on it.
Right.
But being that I was starting, like, the VTuber starter packs, I was like, I want to offer a secondary outfit. Can I make one for this since I've already made all this other shit for yours? With the stipulation that, you know, I could take this jacket, alter it slightly so it's different, and then throw it up on Booth. So I'm still making back a little bit money since I was giving it to them for free.
Yeah. I like it. The hoodie looks super comfy.
Yeah. It really does. There are some clothes that I design, and I hate the fact that they're just digital because they look so comfortable.
Pending already has a better wardrobe than me, and the gap is only widening over time.
It's same.
Yeah. That's okay. I guess Pending needs like the cool clothes more than I do.
Pending is seen by more people, I guess.
Yeah. This is true. Before we end, though, I was wondering, is there anything in particular you wanted to say, like future plans, things like that?
I do have the videos I want to do with the con stuff that I'm still working on, slowly, but I'm still working on it. I'm in the recording stages, and that's it. Like, I've stopped planning things because it's just easier to kind of not have that pressure.
Right.
With the exception of the VTuber collab stuff I do, which I have boards in my Discord for people to just drop their information and stuff, and that's fine.
Yeah. And I'm gonna have links to all your stuff in the description.
Awesome.
Yeah. For like you're on Twitter, you're on YouTube, you're on Twitch, you have a Discord. I think. Is there anything else?
I have Etsy and Patreon. I have everything.
That's right. You do have an Etsy and you do have a Patreon. That's right. I forgot until you mentioned it, but you also do VTuber keychains. Well, you didn't mention it, but you mentioned Etsy, which made me remember. Oh yeah, you also do the VTuber keychains. And I love those.
Yes, I have to work on a third run soonish.
Do you have like a time frame in mind, or kind of what triggers when you do those runs?
When I have to restock for my actual conventions. And even though I did technically do a restock recently, I'm still waiting for those to come in. I've been kind of wanting to do like another run of the VTuber keychains, and like if there's enough interest, then it's definitely worth it to do it, even though I'm not actually making money off of it. But I think like when you were talking about the cards, the like VTuber trading card things, there are people who feel the same way about the keychains. Are they waiting to know when they're going to be the next? VTuber to be invited into it, and I feel kind of bad, like it, because if I could, I would do everybody, but one, that's requiring me to do a lot of work. Two, I don't make money off of them, and I would feel guilty making any sort of money off of them. And in fact, even the last ones I did, I sold them at a loss. So if I do another round, they're gonna have to go up by like $1 or $2. Yeah,
just to offset the cost of it.
I forgot to take into account that I'm gonna get taxed on this stuff. So basically, I'm gonna be taxed for all of those as if it was income to me, and it's not, because it goes to the company to buy the stuff.
Yeah, which is sad because you were selling them at cost and yet you still got taxed on it. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is what it is. You live and you learn. And raise the prices and then people will complain. But that's what I'm gonna have to do, is probably raise them up by $1 or $2. I'm gonna have to try to figure out what the tax is.
Right.
But yeah, I've had people like make mentions in some servers being like, "Oh, I hope they're gonna ask me." And as much as I'd like to do everyone, they cost more per keychain the less you do. Right. So I try to pick people who will sell at least 5 keychains, and I know that sounds like really bad because you're picking on popularity, but then it's an even bigger loss for me.
Yeah,
only one sells.
For financial reasons, you kind of have to do it that way. Because as you said, you're selling them at cost, or as it happened last time, at a loss. So, you have to make certain considerations for your own financial well-being. And
it doesn't really reflect on the VTuber themselves. It's more of like the fan who's like, I can afford one, who am I going to pick? And they're going to pick, say, their favorite as opposed to maybe their second favorite. So so you get people we get a lot of those. You also have to think about shipping labels that I have to pay for myself, and then packaging I have to pay for myself. And then when everyone gets their keychain, they get it in a little bag, usually with some sort of candy, and then like a card that explains that each of the keychains have a plastic film on them to protect them.
Which I didn't read.
Don't worry, a lot of people don't read it, and they still come and complain to me, this is scratched, or I had someone even like give me a lesser star rating. They're like, it was cloudy and it was scratched. I'm like, there's a protective film on there. I sent you a card about it.
You gotta peel off the film. I didn't realize that, and I didn't blame you for it. I just assumed I did something wrong, because I'm like, oh no, my keychain's got it dirty and it's starting to peel. Because the protective film was slowly peeling off, because I had that keychain for like months, and it never occurred to me. And then you were mentioning on voice chat, like, not talking about my situation at all, that there are people that don't realize that there's a protective film, and I'm like, there's a protective film? and then you're like, pending, there was a card with it. It's like, I didn't read the card. I saw the candy. I saw the candy, but there
was a handwritten note on that card.
Yeah, I saw it said pending on it, and then there was candy. And then I probably ate the candy. I'm like, oh, these are nice keychains. And then once you mentioned it, I peeled the protective film off of the keychains, and I'm like, wow, these look so much better now. So I learned my lesson.
I mean, it happens a lot, and even when I'm at conventions, like, I'll hand out the keychains, and I'll be like, and there's a protective film on them, and I will have, like, one that I have that's slightly peeling back. I go, it looks like this, you can peel it off. It might not look like there's one on there, but trust me, there is.
Yes.
And then I've had people come back being like, can I get a different one scratched? I go, it's just a protective film. No, there's no film, it's just scratched. I'm like, hold on, and then I'll just, like, I'll stare at them while I'm picking off the film and then hand it back to them. They're like, oh, okay, thank you.
Just like give them an ice cold stare as you like peel it off.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, because I have pretty brittle nails, so it's a little harder for me to peel them off, or I would, offer to do it for people. But I'd peel it off and just give it back to them. And they'd be like, oh, okay, thank you. And then run off. And only once have I ever had an issue where the keychain itself was ever scratched.
Right.
And I don't even know how or why. I think it probably was on them doing it, because I didn't see or notice it when I handed it out. But I replaced it. Like, If I want people to have quality items and whatever. Yeah. And my friend once had a keychain and she accidentally snapped it in a door and I still sent her a replacement, which I would not normally do for people, but like if you just got it and you just got broke because, you know, you didn't know that it couldn't handle a door. I'd be like, alright, you get one. But if you keep breaking them, you're gonna have to pay for the extras.
Yeah. The first replacement's free, then you gotta pay. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I hope everyone learned a bit about Argama, and everyone has a good day, or night, or morning, or millennia, you know, whichever one it is. And I'll see everyone soon. Bye-bye. Say bye, Argama.
Oh, bye, Argama.
Thank you. Bye-bye.